Roll it, Johnny.
Right, all right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and everybody that's now excited to see Joe do that NPC live streaming stuff. He's popping balloons over there. He's going to be ice cream so good. Ice cream so good. But yeah, this is a brand new episode of the Pink Buzz, and we are here today to talk about a book that's very important to me. It's very special. Really kind of helped to broaden my perspective in some ways. Joey, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be continuing with one of our creator spotlights, which was Peter Milligan, and we'll be talking about his Vertigo book, Enigma, with Duncan Fegredo on...
Fegredo is how I say
it. Fegredo on art. Yeah, so this is an 8-issue series that came out in 89?
No, 90 in the... Because it was like when Vertigo was around, so like it was...
so the early 90s.
I think it's mid-90s. I think it came out like around when I was about to start high school.
Okay.
So with the subject matter, this is a really groundbreaking book, because at the time when this book came out, like there were quote-unquote LGBT characters in comics, like the Hulk had a gay friend and stuff like that, but like they never did as far as I know, like a big 2 comic that was about like actual LGBT characters and events. Like this was like one of the first that I know of that ever came out. But before we get further into that, man, we have a check-in, but before I let Joey get to his what he was going to talk about, I wanted to just let everybody know that Joe and I were both on Elle's wonderful podcast Wednesday. For one night only. We had a blast. We talked about Teletubbies and childhood trauma as a result of children's programming from our youth, and just stuff that we've seen around. And we had a pretty good conversation, I'd say. But yeah, that's kind of my check-in.
Yeah. So we did that on Wednesday, like Johnny said. Fun stuff. Always good time hanging out with Elle and the gang. Well, my check-in is Ballistic from Black Mask Comics, written by Adam Egypt Mortimer. This one is drawn by Derek Robertson, colors by Diego Rodriguez, and letters by Crank. So we'll be doing a Black Mask episode eventually, so I'm trying to catch up on my Black Mask. So this is something Johnny recommended to me after my disappointment with the Scout comic, Sam and His Talking Gun. So Johnny said, "Oh, check this one out. You might enjoy it." And it's a lot more what I was hoping to get from...
I knew it would be, because it's totally B-movie style. Hey, do me a favor. Show that opening splash page of the city. Flash that up there so that people can see it. Just to see.
And I was reading this. You mean like the map?
No. Like it's like a page or two in. There's like a big double pager of.
Oh yeah.
The flying car. I love that, man. That's a way to open your book and just show like what kind of world that this thing's going to take place in. It's an utter blast. Yeah.
And I was reading this at the same time I was reading Killtopia, so it was a good pairing. This and Killtopia, because they're both like futuristic, like both have kind of like that cyberpunk vibe to it. But this has a much more maybe weird side to it, a little more on the weird side, like we had said, maybe Cronenberg-ish.
Yeah, definitely way heavier on the body horror. Because like the gun literally kind of like fuses to his hand. And like the gun itself is like a living organism.
So I think I have maybe an issue left to read. I'm on the final chapter. Then I'll be done that. So I almost got through that this week. So I was reading that as I was reading stuff for the show. I read Robot Todd as well. We'll be talking about that on Sunday on our Hot Flashes episode, along with Weird Work. So we'll be talking about that on Sunday. It'll be an afternoon show, probably 3 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock. So anyway, we'll post it on socials. And because I fell asleep during the Flash movie, I rewatched it from about the point where I fell asleep, which was right when uh, they go find Batman, and that actually part of the movie I actually enjoyed. The whole from when they find Batman to go find Superman. I thought that whole stretch of the movie was pretty decent. But you know, there's a lot of shit they could have cut out. So still not a great movie. Like after watching the parts I fell asleep on. So it's okay. It's
What did you think about those special effects, though, man? The CGI in the movie is horrible. It's got probably the ugliest special effects I've seen in like a movie that cost as much as that movie supposedly did. Like especially when he's traveling back in time, like that panoramic view, like it looks like AI art. It didn't look like real people at all. It looked just
and the way they make him run, kind of, it looks like he's running, but it's backwards. I don't know. It was I didn't like that either. That looked kind of.
His running special effect looks better on the TV show, which is a terrible thing to say about a Hollywood film that cost like $300 and something million to make. To say that the TV show fucking looks better.
Yeah, his suit was all right though on this one. Like it kind of charges when he runs and stuff, so that part was okay. Batfleck's suit in the beginning sucked balls.
I like the coloring, but like the actual like chest plate and stuff, it looked ridiculous, man.
It didn't look good. He's looking like almost like a riot cop, like a SWAT team. I don't know.
But the funny thing is I actually really dug Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, like in the scene where he's talking to Barry. But the one thing that I hate is like he should have hung out and like went to dinner with him, because when your friend's talking about like going back in time and fucking up the timeline, you don't be like, oh no, Barry, I think I should just go, and just leave you alone to your fucking pity thoughts. And he knew what he was gonna do. Like, why didn't he hang out with them? Like, there are just weird things about that movie that bugged me. Another one is like just like how over the top Ezra Miller was. I mean, like at some points he reminded me of Pauly Shore. Like, and it put me into
when he meets his younger self. You mean?
Yeah, especially when his younger self gets the powers and is running around and is going all the time. I was just like, dude, like Ezra Miller's going to star in the Pauly Shore biopic, which it brought me back to something I hadn't thought about in a long time. But when I was in junior high or maybe high school, I thought up this whole movie idea about like, what if Pauly Shore played the Hulk? And like, I think that Andy Muschietti stole that idea from me. And like, instead of making Pauly Shore the Hulk, he made him the Flash.
Yeah. And like the other thing I was disappointed with is because this movie was all like kind of fucking change the story just to be able to have those Easter eggs in it and shit like that, which I mean, it's kind of cool. It's all right. But like when he went back, when he changed the time, like you could have easily introduced Thomas Wayne, which they didn't. Like the Superman part would have been so cool if they would have gone with the Red Sun's storyline, like when they find because the timelines are different, so you could have incorporated that little storyline into it. If you want to make it a longer movie, like you could have gone back and explained Thomas Wayne and then it would have justified the runtime, because you have to explain the context of these Elseworld characters, right? But they didn't. It was just the same old run of the bit. You don't have I don't know. It was.
Well, the kind of messed up thing is like it takes Warner Brothers so long to make these movies. Is they announced that they were going to have like Michael Keaton and all these other Batmen show up in the film, and then they didn't do anything with it. And then Marvel made that third Spider-Man movie and had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back in it, and they beat them to their own punch. So when the Flash movie finally comes out, it just looks like they're trying to copy the Spider-Man movie, which is tragically. And I kind of wish that they would have. I don't know, the big twist at the end I thought was kind of cute. It got a slightest bit of a giggle out of me, maybe. But like I kind of was hoping like they could give Bale a truckload of money and at least have him show up. I thought that they could have maybe provided a little more with the Batman. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Same thing with the Superman. Like they could have pulled a couple of the TV ones and throw them actually in the movie instead of just having the god awful PlayStation 2 CGI versions of them show up for like 2
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. Like I mean, they could have gone like it's because these movies, they're not even made for comic book people anymore. They're made for the movie people, right? Like this whole world was and story was just completely based in the DCU. It wasn't even like I said, like all these movies now are just inspired by the characters. They're not even really based on the stories anymore, or extremely loosely based on them. So, like, I won't even get into the debate of like comic book movies and their relevance to the comics because it's just there's no point in it anymore.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I'm gonna say about this, man, is like I thought people were being mean, but like I think some reviews were way too nice. This really is just a really terrible film, kind of all around, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't think anybody's missing out by not going and seeing it. Like all the people that skipped out, like don't bother yourself now.
Like if they would have done Thomas Wayne and Red Sun Superman, Red Suns, I would have been.
I think even with the backdrop of this film and shoving those characters into it, it'd still be crap just with those characters in it instead of these ones. I don't think they could have saved it, dude.
No, I don't know. It would have been cool. Like they could have done a little like mini side story for each one, and then like kind of the overall story. Anyway,
if they completely reworked the movie. I mean, I thought you were just saying like keep the movie as it is, but instead of having the versions of Superman and Batman that we had, try to work in those ones. And like, I don't know. I think with even the backdrop of the film, I think that
because Thomas Wayne was introduced because of the Flashpoint, right?
Yeah, he was part of the Flashpoint paradox.
So that would have been fine. You could have easily fit him in. I mean, Superman Red Suns, the Grant Morrison story, had nothing to do with the Flashpoint.
Mark Millar.
Oh, it was Mark Millar. Sorry, I thought it was Morrison. And like you could have easily had just throw that in there just for fun because they probably will never do anything with that, like movie wise or TV series or anything. So
they made the animated movie that was pretty.
Yeah, they did the animated one. Yeah, so.
But yeah, that's enough about the Flash, man. We're here to talk about some good shit. We're here to talk about this. And this glorious new pressing of the book. I mean, it's not new, but like it's new enough that it's widely available from Dark Horse's Berger Books Press. This is
the definitive edition that came out in 2019, I believe. This edition.
It's hardcover with it's got a slipcase, right, Joe? Or I think so.
I got it digitally through Kindle, so yeah, I don't know if it has a slip cover or not, but I know it's a hardcover. So
I don't mean slip cover; I mean like a dust cover.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know if it has a dust jacket or not. So
the one I saw in the shop, I believe, did. So yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's the version. Yeah. So
see, I have the old Vertigo trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I looked at this one. It's got 50 pages of back matter with sketches and all kinds of cool stuff in it. So it really is a definitive, like hooked up one. You get to see a lot of, from what I understand, Duncan's black and white art in the back.
Like the forward is all done by Peter Milligan. He has a pretty long forward, and then the back matter, all the back matter is pretty much Duncan going and talking about his experience on the book and everything. So it's cool because you really get a point of view from the writer and then the point of view from the artist. So it's pretty cool.
And I mean, I gotta say, Duncan's art in this, it's another case that completely personifies that 90s Vertigo look for me. I mean, just bam.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And like when I was reading this, I could totally see like maybe like a Danny being influenced by his art maybe when they were younger. Maybe a little bit of Marie Lovett, maybe a little bit, some Hayden Sherman maybe as well. Like, I mean, yeah, you could see maybe some of those influence on those on some modern artists now.
Danny, totally, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, the most.
Yeah.
But that is why I loved Coffin Bound when I found it so much, because it looked just so out of this era. It legitimately made me feel like it was a book from this era of Vertigo. So, yeah, she's just got that knack. Yeah, Danny's.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
like
feel
I got those vibes visually from the book. Yeah.
So before we get into the synopsis and everything, Joe, like how did you like dig the story of this? And man, do you understand like why like I love it and why it's so important to me?
Yeah. Seeing as like I went and double checked, and this book came out in '93. So back in '93, yeah, I could see how this book would be very ahead of its time, like for a comic itself and stuff. Like very, maybe not ahead of its time, but very of its time, I guess I should say, maybe, because of the subject matter. It definitely deals with self-reflection, finding oneself, being, like just the whole human experience, right? And like the confusion that we might have of our own self and our identity and where we belong in the world. So it was pretty cool. Like uh, really good. The storytelling, the way he did it, it wasn't too. The pacing was great. Uh, yeah, I mean, and it didn't take long because you get introduced to these wacky characters right from the start. So it really pulls you in with these bizarre, like the head, the truth. It's all these weird, bizarre characters. Like I won't say villains because as you read the book, you realize this isn't like your typical superhero book. In fact, it really isn't a superhero book at all. But it does have those superhero elements to it. So
Yeah, the first couple issues are actually a lot more horror, I would say, man.
yeah,
Dealing with the head, which is the
and
like morphed a human that like literally sticks a straw thing up these people's noses and like drinks their brain out. Like
yeah,
that's kind of like how you get thrown into this world and kind of start realizing that these weird things are happening in this city with our main character Michael Smith.
Michael Smith. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what other? You have the
The
uh,
truth.
envelope, the truth. Yeah, that's the second character. The envelope girl or woman? Is it girl?
Lovely envelope girl, yes.
Lovely envelope girl. You have uh, the furniture people.
Oh yeah, the my favorite supervillain team ever, the Interior League. These
The
guys,
Interior League. Yeah.
they break into your apartment or your house while you're sleeping, and they rearrange your furniture in such a way that it drives you insane, that makes you like murderous. Like just that.
Makes you commit murder suicides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the idea that I don't know, it just always kind of cracked me up. I just got like a weird kind of ironic kick out of that whole idea.
And then you have the big bad character at the end. That
Which was a great metaphor. I love the idea of like the being afraid of your parents when you have to confront coming out.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, because this definitely it touches on sexuality, just people like just living your life being in a rut too, like trying to experience new things, like because right off in the story, it's this Michael Smith character is your main character, and like he's so scheduled in his life, like he has such a strong routine that Tuesdays is for sex, right?
And
No other
only
day of the week. Yeah,
only
exactly. Only Tuesday, and then weeknights you go to bed early. You go to work the next day. The weekends is like Saturday, Sunday, like, and there's never really any exceptions, right? And then when he after his encounter with the head, he ends up in a coma, right? And then when he comes out of it, all this weird stuff starts happening that's connected to his youth, and then something snaps in him, and that's when everything changes for him. So, yeah. So like, there's also that like aspect of, you don't know how long you have, so don't put off your bucket list for like when you're retired. Like if you can do something that you really want to do now, do it now, because you might but not be here tomorrow. And it's kind of like, I like that little part of the story where he comes out of his it's almost like people that go have near death experiences, it changes their life and they become maybe more motivated or want to do accomplish goals that they had for themselves, and they actually get off their ass, and it kind of plays on that early on in the story. So yeah, so that's interesting. And Yeah. So then the truth is an interesting character where uh, it makes you face the truth of yourself that you keep hidden or that you lie to yourself about, and you what
Punish
turn to,
yourself, basically. Yeah.
yeah, you turn to ash, turn to dust if yeah you like I don't know you just
Cease being because yeah, your truth is just so devastating.
just like with the cop that was dark
Yeah.
where he's talking about like he wants to be young and he starts talking about his daughter. That was a dark
Yeah.
scene.
That's Peter Milligan going full Peter Milligan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. He like
yeah. That was really dark. Yeah. And the truth I think was my like the head is awesome. The head was like a creepy kind of creature-ish character. The truth is more I'd say more like a ghostly character, kind of, uh, with like magical powers almost.
yeah, they're
And
basically like super villains.
yeah,
They're just coming out of nowhere with powers, and like this is like a regular world. There's no actual other superheroes existing. Like comic books exist because that's basically how Michael knows something weird's going on because he starts recognizing these creatures from his favorite comic book when he was a kid, the Enigma.
yeah, the Enigma. Hmm. And the Enigma would ends up showing up. I think the first time is when he saves Michael, right, from the head
Yeah,
attack. He comes and saves Michael. He grabs the head, pulls him away before the head can suck all his brains out. I think he just sucks a little part of his brain, and that's why he's in a coma.
he perforated like the
Frontal lobe.
yeah between yeah. So like he punctured the brain. So like it was touch and go from one for like a night. They thought Michael was dead, and you there's a twist at the end, but yeah, basically like yeah, Michael did die, and like he pops back up, and
Yeah, right as they're gonna pull the plug, he comes out. Or they pull the plug and he was dead for a minute, and then he comes out of his. Was that how it worked?
yeah, because like yeah, he
Yeah,
was like legit like gone for like a little bit, and then like just
yeah.
pops back up out of nowhere.
Comes to, yeah, in a
And
frenzy, and he's agitated, and yeah, yeah,
and then yeah, after he wakes from his coma, he decides that he's going to unravel what's going on, and he decides to look up the writer of the comic book Enigma, and like it kind of leads us to one of the goofiest, but like probably my favorite character in the book. I love
Titus.
Titus Bird. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah, he's a great character.
yeah he's just kind of washed up. He's disillusioned. He's not. He's convinced that his writing's crap. You know what I mean? And like basically like all this starts happening to him, and he has like this cult of these kids that are called the Enigmatics,
Yeah,
and they're always following around asking, and then what, and then what, because that was like a big part of his comic
one of the storylines. Yeah,
with Enigma
yeah,
asking one of the villains of that.
yeah. What are you gonna do once you're rich? Oh, this, and then what? And then what? Until he says, "Well, then I'll die." And then what? Yeah, yeah, and that leads to a pretty wild part of the story too. Like touches on cult and people's obsessions with like maybe celebrity. You know how they just follow people and stuff, and just they go crazy. Like maybe like all the Taylor Swift fans. You know how they just get super obsessed.
Well, because of the
And
time period, I'm very confident he was talking about the Kurt Cobain.
yeah,
And
yeah, but I meant like today. In today's
yeah,
like the comparison would probably be like Taylor Swift fans today. How they're incredibly
or
just.
K-pop fans, like the
Oh
people that
yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
really into
yeah,
like BTS or whatever.
yeah. That's it. Backstage, BT. Yeah,
BTS and Pink
yeah,
Black and them
yeah,
groups.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They get all crazy and obsessive as well.
Oh yeah, we better be respectful, otherwise we're gonna get trashed in the comments, man. Even though nobody watches this show, they'd find us.
They'll find you and just yeah. So there's that aspect too, and that's an interesting part of the story too, where it's just a mass, it's just a big mess, yeah, with the whole cult of the enigmatics. Yeah,
meanwhile, yeah, Michael is kind of having like these weird connections with the masked man in his dreams, which kind of leads where you think it will. Like he kind of finds out sort of Enigma's backstory. There was a murder that happened in Arizona 25 years ago that's really brutal, and but you don't really find out what's going on. Also, man, the narrator in the book, I absolutely love the way that that's set up, and I love the payoff at the end, dude. But like, yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that because
no, because that's
the people to read it because it's so much fun. But
I was, as I'm reading, I'm like, at first I'm thinking, oh, okay, Enigma is the narrator and all this, and then you're kind of like, oh no, maybe not. Then you question who the narrator is, right, as you're reading it. And anyway,
because the narrator kind of talks shit about all the characters,
like, makes fun of them, kind of, exactly.
Calling Michael the pants pisser, and like, yeah,
it's good. The narration part of the story is really good, and like you said, the payoff at the end is great. I love that part. That was like my favorite part of the book. And like in the foreword too, Peter Milligan says, because he touches on it, so he's like, maybe you should stop reading now, read the story, and then come back and read it. And that's what I did, and I'm happy I did, because if I would have known beforehand, it wouldn't have had the same impact, right? The same.
Does he kind of tell you what the twists are in the foreword?
He mentions it a little bit. So yeah. But then once you get it, you look back at the story and you're like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Like there's little parts that aren't explaining, but then at the end you realize what it is, right? So.
The book has a great ending, though. And it's actually quite optimistic, comparatively speaking to like a lot of Peter Milligan's other work and other stuff that Vertigo was putting out at this time. They were pretty nihilistic. And this book does have some like serious nihilistic tones to it, especially with the Enigma's parents. But like I liked the ending of the book. I felt very positive, you know what I mean? After reading this, it didn't, which is kind of cool because of like how moody and how kind of brutal like the start of the book is, you know what I mean? Like you kind of think he's warming you up for like a total gut punch, but and there is a little bit one to the book, but all in all, like it's a very, very just wonderful, positive comic when it's all said and done. And once you get the metaphors that are being said in the book, because we can't go too far into them because it would just spoil the ending. But there's a lot about having to hide who you are from the people you love the most, involved in like, especially with the creatures and the way that their powers kind of work. It's very judgmental, and I don't know, at the end of it, you kind of really understand like everything like meant something in the book, which I really loved it. Like they pulled that off so well in this book.
Yeah. And Peter Milligan goes into that. He explains a little bit of the story, how his editor was in the closet and he came out of the closet. So a lot of it is based off that experience. And when he did his research, he went and kind of hung out in gay clubs and stuff. And being a straight man, he'd never been. And the first time he went was for this book. And the scene where he goes out looking for Titus and he goes into the club is kind of inspired by him going to a gay club for the first time, and like experiencing maybe what women experience a little bit, like with the cat calling and stuff like that, and where you just become an object to people. So yeah, so that part was maybe a little bit inspired by that, and the whole coming out of the closet and being honest to yourself and everybody in your life about who you are, how it can be freeing, and just, because that's like living a lie your entire life, right? So how freeing it can be just to come out and be honest about it, regardless of the not consequences, but maybe the reactions of the people you love. Maybe they won't react in a way that, in a positive way or in a positive light. So, and that one part in the book where it leads to that, where the Enigma explains to him and the decision he makes, I love that part. I thought that was great.
Yes. Yeah.
Like where it's the question of free will and stuff like that. And yeah, so I love that part. I thought that was a great part. I thought Peter Milligan, that was a great choice, and for the story and everything, I love that part. And I don't want to say because I think it's a very impactful couple of, I think it's what, maybe 1 page or 2 pages where they go over that.
Yeah.
And like Titus, and then because Michael's reaction to Titus when they first meet is
Brutal.
no, it's not brutal at first, but then when they go to the bar and they start drinking, and then Titus makes a pass at him and he flips, and that part's like where he just reacts, right? And he just hits him in the face, right? And that's when they first met. So Titus wasn't sure. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were," right? Like he's like, "Oh, I misread the situation or the vibe you're giving off," right? And so it kind of explains a little bit there, the personality, how people can react poorly when they don't think, when they just react, where they don't stop and try to, so then later on from the scene, I don't want to give it away because it's a good part. So then you see like Titus, like full, like seeing how Michael came full circle and he's proud of him and stuff, and that's pretty cool, that whole scene. Yeah. And Titus, like you said, he's a great character. Great character.
Yeah,
he
great.
Adds,
he
adds a lot of levity to the book. Like, it's not a funny book at all. And the scenes with Titus aren't like just super funny, but because of his nonchalant, his carefree attitude towards life, because being a gay man, right, in the time he is, it's not as acceptable as it is today, or spoken openly openly about. So
because like he's been out basically since the 70s, his character. So I don't know about all that, but like I remember, because like I was of age when this book came out, and I know it was not a really very good time to be a homosexual person.
It was 93. See, where I lived, like in Montreal, it was fairly well accepted back in the mid 90s. So for me, my experience was different. I maybe had a few gay friends that in college that we hung out with and stuff like that, so it wasn't a big deal. But there was still maybe a little bit of like going out and people, just close-minded people, grabbing gay people and just beating the shit out of them in alleyways and stuff like that. After a night out or something, it happened on occasion, but it wasn't as frequent as maybe like maybe 10 years before. Like, it was slowly becoming a thing of the past. So it was back in the mid 90s, it was becoming a more safe environment for gay people to go out, not just in their community, like the gay village, like just to go out in normal bars and stuff without having to worry about some closed-minded jock, or I don't want to just say jocks, but like back then often it was like the macho attitude, right? Oh, the gay person beat the shit out of them, like to prove, oh, I'm not gay, I'm going to beat up a gay guy. Like, what does that prove? If anything, anyway. Yeah.
But like one of the things I really liked about this comic is the way it worked in its superhero narrative, and like how actually badass the superhero stuff in this book is, because we get some pretty cool fights in it too. And I love the way the narrator kind of talks about the fights as well. And I also love the way that it utilizes the horror aspect. Like I said, like the beginning of this book, it's kind of really gory, and the way that the villains manifest themselves, it's very Cronenberg-y, like, and I love the way that like he worked all these wonderful messages in together with just this action-packed story. Like you said, it's just paced so great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And from one to the other, and how the stories connect with the comic, and you see like, and I love the way they show like pages from the old comic, and you see kind of the interpretation of the comic from because that was a comic that came out in what,
I I think it was 77. I think he said
70, like late 70s, right? So I love the way you see like the truth. Then you see what he looks like in the comic on that one page at the end of book 2, I believe, or 3.
Yeah, it's the end of issue 2 because
2, yeah. So you see like it's got that kind of Jack Kirby kind of style to him, with the little circle with a ziggly line with another circle that connects to the other circle. Yeah, it has a little bit of a Kirby vibe to it in the comic, which was cool.
And then you get the kind of really heartbreaking backstory of the Enigma himself, which it's a really kind of cool. I guess there's kind of a noir aspect to the book too, because you kind of unraveled the mystery of him and like how he came to be, and they don't really super explain that. He just kind of was born, you know what I mean? But like I don't mind, you know what I mean? Like it fit the story enough to where like I didn't need a better explanation, you know what I mean?
Because the story it was more about the message than the Enigma himself.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was more about the overall message of these characters and what they're living more than the Enigma and what he is, right? Like I said, it's not a superhero book, right? So
in a weird way, I kind of took the Enigma as part of Michael, and like that whole character arc and his struggle was something that Michael had to kind of go through to become who he needed to be be who he is at the end of the book.
Oh, for sure. It keeps you guessing, right? Because the whole time I thought, oh, okay. And then it wasn't what I thought, like when we get to the end, right? Because everything's connected to Michael, right? Like it's the comic he read. And then all these things keep coming back to Michael and his past, right? So you're thinking, okay, like anyway, that's what I was thinking is like, oh, maybe Michael has powers and these are things that are manifesting through him because of stressful situations, or like he can't control himself, or maybe that's why he lives such a routine life, right? To keep himself under control. So as I was reading that, I was thinking, oh, maybe these are all things that yeah. So anyway,
but yeah, this book just utterly blew me away when I read it. I didn't read it when it came out. Like I think I read it around when I was in high school, so like somewhere around 99.
Okay.
I think, and I hadn't read a story from this perspective, and that's one of the things I think is so powerful about like good comic books and good storytelling, is when they can actually like show you somebody else's point of view or perspective that's not quite one that you've ever had you knew you had any interest in ever being privy to, and you just read this story and it utterly just opens your mind and kind of changes the way I thought about it. I was never homophobic or anything, but I used to talk pretty bad.
Yeah, like if something, that's gay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was such a common term back in the 90s. Like someone did something, you're like, oh, that's so fucking gay, right? Like I was like, you didn't even think about it. Everyone said stuff like that, right? So, and as you get more open and you talk and you broaden your world and you let more people into your life, then you realize slowly maybe like, oh, certain things, you say certain things and it might rub the people the wrong way or hurt their feelings and stuff. Then you realize, okay, like if someone said something that hurt my feelings and they completely disregarded it, you'd be like, ah, fuck, okay, like, so this person's an asshole, right? So, you go through life, you try not to be an asshole as much as possible, and but you can't.
This book hella helped me with that though, man. Like it really broadened my mind to even start thinking in that capacity, to be like, hey man, maybe some of the stuff I do isn't so cool, you know what I mean? Like I never thought to think of my friends, that are that way, because I knew some raver kids, I knew a couple goth kids that were bi and whatever, and and we just said whatever, and like I feel terrible now, but but this book really helped me understand that, like, dude, like, and just I don't know, like I said, like I never read anything from this perspective before, and I read books that had characters that back characters that were LGBTQ, but like actually seeing something from that perspective and point of view, it was mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's not so uncommon now. I mean, it's pretty commonplace now. But like in '93, like at this time, like I said, like earlier on, like you maybe got lucky, like the Hulk had a gay friend in like Marvel Comics. That was like the big thing that like they were kind of getting buzz over and kind of getting hate over at the same time. I think at around the same time, it was in the '90s. I remember they did that, and they kind of made a couple of the X-Men, like what's his name from Alpha Flight.
The North Star, is that
Yeah,
his name?
yeah, they
Character.
finally let him come out and stuff, and like that was the big thing. But like they were never main characters. Like this is a book that was
Mm-hmm. And I find it so skillfully done too.
Yeah, Peter Milligan never gets his due, dude. Like he literally is on that same Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman level, and like he never gets brought up with them unless I do it, you know.
Yeah, and it's such a natural progression the way he approaches it. Like it never feels forced. It never feels like he's hitting you over the head with what he's trying to say. And it feels like such a natural progression as you're reading it that it's not jarring. It isn't. It just is, right? It's life, and it doesn't feel out of context. It feels the way it should be, and that's because of the way he integrates his ideas and themes into the story. It's seamless, right? And I think that's what a lot of writers lack: tact. That they're rushing to get to the point where you could just build it up in a way that doesn't feel forced or heavy-handed. It's a skill, and I think it probably takes writers a while to develop those skills to tell a better story. But yeah, I definitely appreciate it in this book. It was really, really, really well done, skillfully done. Oh, hey Al, how's it going? Thanks for stopping in. Hopefully you didn't get into too much trouble the other night for staying on the computer too long.
Well, one thing I think is cool is like you know that Karen Berger must have really loved this book because she published it twice.
Yeah,
like
went with Vertigo, yeah, and then brought it back to do the hardcover edition with Dark Horse through Berger Books.
And she knew that this was too good to just like let get taken over by the out of print demons, man. Like, especially now when it's more relevant than ever that this book needs to be read by whoever can get their hands on it. And because like you said, it's not a hammer over the head. It gets to its point when it gets to it, but like its point is magnificent, and it might scare some people off. I'm not gonna lie, I did feel a little uncomfortable the first time I read it. I'm like, man, like this is a little hot under the collar for me, and I kind of warmed up to it, you know what I mean? Because I'd never seen the imagery kind of before. Like I had, but like it wasn't something that I looked at on a regular basis, and I don't know, it kind of normalized it to me, you know what I mean? Kind of made it a thing that I wasn't afraid to look at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just read it for the first time for the show, and so I'm coming at it from maybe a pretty different perspective than maybe you did when you're what, 16 when you read it, probably?
A little older, man. Like I was, 16, 17. Yeah,
17, yeah, so... Yeah, so for sure I could see how that would impact a younger person, like as they're reading it, not knowing, especially back in the 90s, right? The whole, like, there wasn't even LBGT community yet, right? That it wasn't under that one flag or whatever you want to call it, it was just starting to get more organized maybe by the end of the 90s. Yeah, because back in the 90s, man, bisexuals were not very well regarded within the community. Gay people did not like bisexuals because gay people felt like, you're playing both sides. Either you are or you aren't. Pick a side and stick with it. I knew a lot of gay people that had that mentality, and I was kind of like, you want to be accepted, but then here's another group of people, who, because I don't know, it's not just about sexuality. It could be about the intellectual stimulation that a person gives you that makes you attracted to them, right? It's not necessarily just gender. So I mean, so even the gay community had a lot of growing to do back in the 90s itself within its own communities. So this book is definitely a great read for that perspective on just people accepting themselves and maybe the other people around them who maybe aren't the same as them. So
straight up.
Yeah. So definitely, like we said, an important book that's done it in a way and explained in a way that I think anyone can relate to, regardless of what life you walk, whether you're gay, straight, bi, trans, I mean, non-binary. I think this book will definitely speak to, because of the themes, right? It'll speak to pretty much anyone and everyone of all walks of life.
I agree. And I can't recommend it highly enough. I've always really kind of pushed this book on whoever I think could maybe want to check it out, because like aside from like its wonderful messaging, it really is just a really solid comic. So yeah, definitely go check it out. It's pretty cheap to get on Amazon. So
yeah, with through Kindle, yeah, the Kindle too is extremely affordable. So if you're on a budget, what did I say I paid on Kindle? I was going to order the hardcover, and then I was going through and I was like, oh, how much is it on Kindle? And it was like $7 Canadian. I was like, holy shit, 8 issues with 50 pages of back matter, and you pay $7 for it. It's almost like robbing. It's almost like stealing. $7 for that. I mean, that's insane. So it's definitely a very affordable read, and I definitely highly recommend, like, if you don't have the 35 Canadian, or that'd be maybe 25 American to dish out to get the hardcover, then I mean, if you read digital, go pick up the digital version of it, because it's well worth it. And
I still see the old trade for it in the wild too all the time. So you even if you don't want to get the hardcover, I'm pretty sure you could find the trade for it too. So
yeah, and I don't know. I didn't check the DC app to see if this is on the regular subscription, because I know not all Vertigo books. There's 2 tiers, I think, that you can subscribe. There's like a normal tier, then you got like the Supreme or whatever you call it, where it unlocks all the Vertigo titles. So I'm not sure if this one is included.
I don't think it's on there at all, because it's a Dark Horse book now.
Yeah, it's Dark Horse now.
So I don't even think that they would be on the DC app anymore. So
yeah, I didn't even go check, so I have no clue if that's on there or not.
Because since the Vertigo imprint failed, because a lot of stuff like this, it's kind of creator owned. So I'm pretty sure, like, when Vertigo went tits up, like they asked him, like, hey, you want to buy your books back from us really cheap? And like Peter Milligan was like, yeah, okay, and just took it to wherever he could get it to print it again.
Yeah, because Vertigo folded when, in 2018 or 2017?
Yes, I don't remember completely, but yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, just before the pandemic, I think, maybe a year or 2 before.
Yeah, whenever that thing happened with that one guy, that was like the end of Vertigo with that Border Town.
The DMZ thing?
No, with Border Town.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, but like, just check this out. It and I think it would make a pretty cool film. Like, and I know that Dark Horse kind of has a deal with Netflix, but I don't know, like with the strikes and everything, like, good luck getting anything made now. So
yeah, because now the actors are in on it now.
But yeah. Anyways, it is a near perfect graphic novel in my opinion. Like, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's almost a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, and that's Enigma for you. I really hope you do check it out. We will be back on Saturday, or like
Sunday.
On Sunday, like Joe said, it's gonna be an early afternoon show, and we're gonna talk about Robot Todd by Farrell Dalrymple, and we're gonna talk about Weird Work by Jordan Thomas and Shaky Kane. Be a kind of a quicker episode, about a half hour long.
And then next Saturday we have Richard Morgan coming on to do his Kickstarter launch for Blam and Glam number 7. So we'll have that. That'll probably be an afternoon episode as well, because I think the time difference is 5 hours, and we're going to schedule it to line up with his the launch of the Kickstarter, which I think launches at, I'm not sure if it's midnight, 11 or midnight British time. So we're gonna schedule it anyway. We'll post it on socials, but it'll probably be like a late afternoon start time for that episode.
He's going to be on. He's going to draw sketches that we're going to give away, and just going to have some good fun talking to our buddy Richard. And his book's going to probably sell like that, like his last one did. He funds quick, man. He's a lucky dog.
Yeah, his Kickstarter did pretty good. It did gangbusters, man.
Yeah,
good for him.
I can't wait to read the next issue, man. Bam and Glam. It's
July 29th, man. Kickstarter kicks off. You can go sign up for his for the pre-launch, to sign up for the pre-launch, so you get notified as soon as the Kickstarter goes live. So if you go find Richard Morgan on socials, you could find a link, or if you do Blam and Glam, you could probably find the link for the pre-launch to sign up for the Kickstarter.
But yeah, we'll probably be promoting that on Instagram and whatnot.
Yeah, we'll probably we'll kick that off and do some promotion for it leading up to it this week. So
make Joe get naked.
I don't know if that'll help the book. It'll probably lose him some customers.
Yeah. People will be asking for their money back.
Put some little black tape on my nipples.
Get the little X's.
Yeah, the little X's on my nipples there. Yeah.
That's terrifying, yo. All right. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday. Take it easy, y'all.
Have a good night.